Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll understand Retrieval Augmented Generation, or which is abbreviated as RAG. I'll explain you everything with the help of an anecdote, and let's go through it. So let's say uh, I am a let's say a PhD student in a university, and I'm writing a thesis on, let's say, the Vedic scriptures and the literatures which is present in India. Probably I think that obviously an internet will not be a good source because a lot of informations there are retrieved from a lot of I'll say sites which are not factually backed up. So what I feel is good is that, let's say, there is a library near my locality which is renowned to keep sort of books and preserve those books and scriptures related to our Vedas and the Indian mythology altogether. So I think let's give it a try and probably try to find out the information that is important for my thesis. So what I do is that I go to a library, and going into the library, I see a whole new world. As I've never been to a library, I feel that the books are crushing me, and obviously, like, jokes apart, the I'm not able to find the particular information, right, that I'm trying to search for among so many books. There are so many sort of categories and so many sections. It's difficult to get hold of it. So what I'll do is that instead of finding it on my own, uh, I'll try to find out the librarian, right? So I find the librarian who is sitting on a desk and is just looking at me and sort of thinking what I'm doing in this rusty old place. So what I'll do is that I'll ask the librarian to sort of help me out and help me to sort of retrieve the literature that I'm trying to find out. The librarian, being very kind and modest, also helps me to find out the book from the right section. Upon discovering the book, upon my amaze, I see that the scriptures or the books are written in Sanskrit. I mean, obviously, I am just aware about, let's say, English and Hindi, and I'm not quite acquainted to understand and read the Sanskrit scriptures. So I asked the librarian for her help, but the librarian again is also not trained upon. Let's say she's not, obviously, she doesn't know the Sanskrit for some reasons. She is not aware about it. So even if she tries to support me or sort of help me out in order to translate that information, it will not be obviously accurate, right? So again, but by the magic of God, the librarian tells that there is a reader who is sitting on one of the corners of the library, and he is a very renowned scholar who is who has worked on multiple Vedas and scriptures and everything. So what she does is that she very politely introduces me to that particular gentleman. So I meet the scholar, right? And again, I ask for his help, and again, upon his kindness and everything, I am able to retrieve the information that I is required to sort of conduct the thesis and get all the answer which is required to sort of create it. So this is how the process works, right? Now let me sort of correlate it with RAG, right, or the RAG. So before we go into the technicalities, let's understand what this retrieval, augmented, and generation word mean. If let's say if I have to explain the RAG in simple terms, then you can sort of understand RAG as, like, the retrieval part will be nothing else. It is the process of getting something back from somewhere. If you talk about the word augment, you try to Google it out, you'll find that it's the word means that make something greater by sort of adding to it. And lastly, generation is a word which again is sort of interpretable very easily, and it basically means to generate any sort of output or response, right? So let's say if we talk about the generation part in simple terms, let's say if a user is there and it, like, let's say it's me, right? And I am asking a question to the LLM model, or to, let's say, uh, solutions like ChatGPT or Gemini. Okay, probably if I ask certain questions on the Hindi Vedic scriptures, the LLM models might not be trained upon it, right? So the responses, I mean, a lot of times what these models will do is that even if they don't have the data to back the sort of question that has been asked, they give responses by becoming little bit creative. They try to find anything which is contextually similar to what I'm trying to ask, even if it is not exactly similar. They still try to hallucinate. What I mean by hallucination is that they start becoming creative and give us responses. Obviously, this responses a lot of times will be incorrect. Okay. So this is how we get a lot of wrong responses. To sort of correct this entire process, we use RAG. Okay. So the questions that we ask are or the text that we write to the LLM models, okay, are nothing else but they are called as prompts, and the responses or the output which are generated again a lot of times are incorrect if the data are not, I mean, if whatever I'm asking to the LLM model, there is no data to back it up, or probably they are not trained upon those sort of informations. So let's understand how RAG helps us. So in this case, let's say it can be the information or the sort of request can be asked by a user just like me. It can be a bot, or it can be a any sort of an application as well. So let's say I ask a query in terms of prompts to the LLM model. So what the LLM model is supposed to do with the retrieval augmented part is that it will go for the retrieval part. What it will do is that it will sort of request that particular information to a knowledge repository, which is nothing else but which is our vector database. So in a vector database, any sort of data, whether it's an image, whether it's an audio oriented information, or whether it's a graphical persisting information, everything is stored in the form of numerical data, and it is stored in the form of vector embeddings. Okay. So what it will do is that the LLM will request the vector database to sort of uh, check the prompt and try to do a semantic search. A semantic search means that contextually relevant sort of search, right? Which is contextually related to what I'm trying to ask. So what the vector database does is that next, what it does is it sends a request, or sort of it tries to fetch the informations from a huge repository of data, right? This can be informations from like it can be web script data, it can be data that is residing on NY, it can be XYZ sort of websites, anything, right? So now these informations are further, what it happens is that they divide this informations or data into something called as chunks. Let's say if they find out something is relevant, right? Some informations are relevant to the prompt that has been asked, then it will sort of break those informations into small chunks. Okay. And these chunks are then sort of sent back to the vector database in the form of embeddings. So this particular datas, okay, are quite updated every single time, even if there are certain changes. Probably if you sort of update the database or the data source, then the embeddings will keep on updating everything, and those updated embeddings will also get transferred to the vector database. Now what will happen is that this particular vector database will give us ranked results. Okay. So now what does this particular ranked result mean? So when we talk about ranked results, it's nothing else but it refers to the ordered list of documents, or basically pieces of information that the system has retrieved based on the relevance to the given query. Okay. So basically this particular ranked results are then sort of uh, attained by the LLM models, and this LLM models at last what it does is it gives a response. So this entire process is of retrieving the data from the data source, then the augmenting of the informations. Let's say if there are certain information that are needs to be added, probably let's say there are certain sort of updates, then these updates are sort of added in the form of embeddings into the data vector database, and that particular updates and everything is called as vector embedding. This response is then sent to the LLM model so that the LLM model can give authentic and very factually correct answers to the end user, which can be again a bot, it can be an application, or it can be a lovely user like me. So I hope this entire understanding of RAG solution was apt, and it gave you a little bit of clarity. If you found this particular video to be very helpful, then please put a like to this video. Make sure that you share it with your friends, and at last subscribe to my channel as well. And lastly, I would like to say like every single time, that keep reimagining data with AI. And that's it. Meet you guys in the next video. Bye bye.